This raid on a Staten Island ghost gun maker has other implications that we should be paying attention to. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content, what I do here, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. And Connecticut residents, plan on getting your permit. Please have your paperwork turned in before July 1st. Get that training done. The modifications for the training course have been put out, but there's a lot of gray area and there seems to be some shenanigans going on. So we're not 100% clear on what's going to happen yet. If you have your permit, watch the expiration date. Don't let it expire. Link to the online renewal portal for the state of Connecticut for permits in the description box. Keep an eye on that. Let's talk about this. Now, there's been a big to-do and brouhaha across the NYPD as they did a raid on a man's house in Staten Island and came up with what they claim to be ghost guns. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on the story because there's another angle that I really want to talk about, which we should all be concerned about. But a ghost gun raid on Staten Island nets arsenal of firearms, 500 rounds of ammo, authorities say, 500 rounds of ammo. They'd be shocked if they were to raid. They would be shocked. Any actively shooting gun owner, 500 rounds is nothing. That is literally 10 boxes of ammunition, 50 rounds per box. That's nothing. But they make such a big deal out of it. But this man, basically, 6 a.m., they went into his home and they raided this house. Now, in reality, what they actually got, supposedly, is one ghost gun, 5 unregistered handguns. But once again, I'm not sure how there's so much information being left out. They just say 5 unregistered handguns, 2 ARs, which are not illegal in the state of New York if you register them with the SAFE Act, 2 rifles, once again, 1 shotgun, 1 silencer, 13 high-capacity magazines, 500 rounds of ammunition. A majority of what's on that list, beyond the ghost gun, I hate using that term, but it's the best I can do. Everything else is kind of like gray area. I'm not sure as to the status of these items because these items are not illegal in the state of New York. So they just say unregistered handguns, but how are they unregistered? What is the point here? They're just bolstering this list to make it sound so ominous, and it's a bunch of nonsense. But what we really, really, really need to talk about is how this man came into their sights. During this investigation and then subsequent raid and press conferences after, the DHS made a stunning statement that they basically monitor 3D printers that are being sold, Amazon, eBay. They monitor financial transactions, PayPal, Venmo, so forth and so on people who are buying certain items, which means that these companies have to be giving their personal information to them in order for them to do so. This is how they're tracking down. So DHS, warrantless, with no warrant, digs into your purchasing, what you're buying online, and then they give that information to local law enforcement who then act on it. Because remember, this guy apparently bought a 3D printer, this guy in Staten Island, and the DHS notified the NYPD, who then made the raid, and they only found the one item. So you remember that list, 1 ghost gun, 1. Looked like a Glock 26 copy. But the DHS is obviously in cahoots with Amazon and these other online retailers to then pass that information on to local law enforcement. I want to come into here. DHS admits to monitoring 3D printer purchases with the help of Amazon, eBay, and PayPal, which means these companies are definitely knee-deep in with the government to do this. The Department of Homeland Security made a shocking admission while speaking about a Staten Island man who was arrested for making homemade firearms. But remember, they only found 1 homemade firearm. The DHS, with the help of Amazon, eBay, PayPal, and others, is monitoring Americans buying 3D printers and 3D printed materials that can be used for making firearms. The Homeland Security investigations, New York's El Dorado Task Force, which consists of various units for DHS, including the Homeland Security Investigations Financial Crimes Task Force, or FinCEN. I've talked about them a lot. The New York Police Department raided the home of John Rea. The 57-year-old man was accused of manufacturing firearms without serial numbers, which they only found one, and having several standard capacity magazines, which are against New York state law to own. New York law enforcement authorities arrested the man after the raid. The task force showed off the guns and ammo it had seized during the raids, which to me is like a joke. You know, you saw the table in the image. It's a joke. But Sergeant Rashawan Vaughn, commanding officer of the Homeland Security Investigations Financial Crimes Task Force, spoke with the press after the raid and made some startling admissions. According to the investigator, DHS is tracking the sale of anything that can be used to create a firearm, including metal rails used in 3D printing guns. Not only is the government monitoring the sale of perfectly legal gun parts, but they are also tracking things such as the purchase of 3D printers. The vast majority of people who buy 3D printers do not use them to print guns, but buying too many printing supplies or printers can get you investigated by Homeland Security without a warrant. Without a warrant. This is what the House and the Senate just signed off on. Okay? They just signed off on allowing the government to do warrantless searches of Americans. There is no federal law against making homemade firearms depending on the state that you're in, even though the Biden administration demonizes the practice by calling privately manufactured firearms ghost guns. The lack of federal statute banning the PMFs, which means that DHS is investigating people for carrying out perfectly lawful commerce. If someone passes a certain threshold for purchasing 3D printing supplies, which DHS hasn't announced, the federal government admitted that it would investigate the buyer and monitor their social media. 1984. Most disturbing, and this is what I pointed out before, is that giant online retailers such as Amazon and eBay and payment processors such as eBay and PayPal are turning over sales records of anyone who purchased certain items, including 3D printers, every 2 months to authorities to sift through. And you should really be worried about that. You should really be concerned. Now, let me just finish up here, but none of those being investigated broke any laws for their purchases. Too many. This would be like investigating anyone who buys a car because they might buy one to use as a getaway vehicle to be used during a bank robbery. In an article published by P.A.N a couple of weeks ago, the FBI was quoted as saying that they cannot investigate people for constitutionally protected conduct, but that seems to be what DHS is doing when it comes to buying 3D printers and legal gun parts. Okay? We just basically track internet purchases from eBay. Bullshit. This is bullshit right here. This is just gaslighting, okay? PayPal, Amazon, different various online companies. They investigate all of them. They're all in on this. Vaughn said, we get a list every other month, which means they're giving up your personal information to the DHS, backdated a month with people purchasing components that could possibly create a ghost gun like the rails, the 3D printer. Okay? I don't need to go any further into that. Of course, it does point out at the end of this article, though, but why we should have a deep distrust of what our government is doing. DHS is monitoring what you are purchasing. And these major online retailers are giving them this information without a warrant. They are giving your personal information to the government without a warrant. The government is then passing that information on to local law enforcement. So the guys in Staten Island, DHS goes to the NYPD, say, hey, this guy in Staten Island is doing this, go check him out. And then you have a raid with a nothing burger when they show you a table of just basic guns and they say, oh, we found one ghost gun, so we're going to basically use that. We should be greatly concerned. We should be greatly concerned of what they're doing, because this is downright disturbing what's being pulled off here. Of course, as they stated, making your own firearms is not a crime. It is not a crime. Okay? Now, certain states, Connecticut has this also. You can't buy like 80% receivers and then mill them out, make them yourself. You have to have a serialized item that you picked up through an FFL, fine. But it's still not illegal to build your own firearm. This could be easily just flipped over into, let's say you go to, I don't know, I doubt they would do this, but you go to Optics Planet and you buy 3 barrels, some handguards, you buy a couple of stocks for projects that you already have that you've been working on, or you want to modify an existing rifle. This information gets to DHS. I'm not saying Optics Planet would do this. I'm just saying this is how it can play out. DHS gets this information. They then go to your local law enforcement and say, this person just bought these items. He or she could use to make a gun. Go investigate. And next thing you know, you're being raided. And as with every move like this, they'll come in and take your stuff away from you. Then you have to go get a lawyer to fight to get it back, even if they're wrong about what they're saying. It opens another story of a case of a man in New York. His name is Dexter Taylor. Remember, was in New York. He kind of got into gunsmithing during COVID, and he got arrested. This is the case where the judge famously said that the Second Amendment doesn't exist in her courtroom. This man, for all intentional purposes, did nothing wrong, and we have to start paying attention to what these people are pulling behind your back. Okay, this obviously was a slip up on their part of saying that, yeah, this is where, we're monitoring sales of 3D printers and items that we deem can be used to make a gun, and getting people arrested for it. That's probably a slip up on their part. But now the cat's out of the bag, and now you know what they're doing. This is disgraceful. Okay? But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.